Okay, welcome to lesson 3. I decided to do this one on YouTube as well because the slides really don't do it justice. It's actually best to see it in person. However, we'll have to make this work as best we can so you kind of get what we're trying to say here with connecting the dots. Many of you have probably heard that phrase throughout the year, especially after 9/11, Pearl Harbor, most of the Intel failures. The media and some pundits will come on automatically and say, well, the Intel community failed to connect the dots. And that's just a linear way of describing what the threat was. And if there was only one way, or somehow that somebody saw one piece of that information that got to the right person, then that dot could have been interrupted and that terrorist attack never would have taken place. It could have been prevented. Well, I'm going to show you, which I think is the fallacy of that whole phrase, connect the dots. I've given this to high schools, colleges, obviously the FBI, military, and at FIU several times. Hopefully it'll sink in eventually, at least at the local level, but I'm not too optimistic. It's also a good way to start thinking about critical thinking, which we'll discuss later on in the class, and the mindsets and biases that we all fall into. Let's go on to chapter 2. You can see from Dale Carnegie's, I'm not shifty with my eyes, by the way. I have the slides up on a split screen. So you see what Dale Carnegie says as far as how we should learn from our failures, and most of the inventors going all the way back to Henry Ford and Thomas Edison say they learn as much from their failures as they do from their successes. Slide 3, let's briefly review what are the causes of intelligence failures. It could be any number of things. Last week we went over the Intel cycle, right? So it could be a breakdown in any one of those things, from collection, maybe you weren't collecting the right information, you analyzed it incorrectly, or which could be even more commonplace, you didn't disseminate it to the right person at the right time. Emailing a threat warning to Miami-Dade Police Department is probably not going to be sufficient, especially if it's an imminent threat. You can imagine how many emails Miami-Dade, or let alone the FBI, we get thousands and thousands of these daily. Some of them from the tinfoil hat people who see Martians invading. Others are just really, I've read through a lot of these, really lonely and despondent people who just want somebody to talk to them. And others are legitimate threats. We're going to go through those too. I already mentioned the mindsets and the biases, but it's also information overload. So if Miami-Dade and FBI are getting thousands and thousands of these emails every single day, you can imagine how much that would take resource-wise. And you could also anticipate threats coming through on Facebook, as you see with some school bombing threats, which have always turned out to be hoaxes, or on Twitter. In fact, somebody asked me just yesterday that knew that I was in the FBI, says, hey, how does the FBI handle monitor student Facebook posts or student Instagram posts in high schools? And the short answer is they don't. It's not the FBI job to monitor social media for that. I don't think the American public expects law enforcement to sit there and scour every single social media post. Typically what happens is the school themselves will get alerted through somebody else that tends to be a friend with that person. Resource constraints, as we talked about, stand by.